Today, we're diving into a really important piece of strata law. That whole system for buildings like apartments or condos where you own your unit but share the common areas. We're going to break down a specific rule, Regulation 43, to see how one single document, the expert's report, can completely change the game in a dispute. Let's get right into it. It's a fantastic question, isn't it? Because when you're in the middle of a dispute about, say, a leak or some kind of defect, it feels like everyone has an opinion. But in the eyes of the law, there's one role that truly matters, and understanding it is absolutely key. So who is this tribunal expert? Well, here's the most important thing. They're not on your side, and they're not on the other side either. They are a completely neutral specialist brought in by the Strata Management Tribunal, which is kind of like a special court for these property issues. Their one and only job is to use their professional know-how to investigate a technical problem and write a report. Think of them as the impartial fact finder. Okay, so this report doesn't just show up out of nowhere. There's a very clear, formal, and transparent process for how it's handled. And this is where Regulation 43 starts to lay down the rules of the road. The report's journey is actually pretty straightforward. First, the expert finishes their investigation and sends the report directly to the tribunal. Then, the tribunal makes sure there are enough copies to go around, and its secretary sends one to every single person involved. The main takeaway here? You are legally guaranteed to get a copy. No secrets, no backroom deals. Right, but what happens when that report arrives and it doesn't quite get the job done? Maybe it raises more questions than it answers, or it just feels like a crucial detail was completely missed. Well, the regulation has a plan for that too. See, the process doesn't have to stop with version 1. The tribunal has the power to tell the expert, hey, we need more, and direct them to create a further or supplemental report. This is a built-in safety net to make sure they can really dig deep and get all the information needed to make a fair call. Okay, this is where things get really interesting. This is the part of the rule you absolutely have to understand. So you've got the report, you've read it, and you don't agree. Maybe the report claims a leak started in your unit, but you've got photos proving it's coming from a common pipe in the ceiling. What happens now? Notice this clear fork in the road. It's a huge deal. If everyone, and I mean everyone, is on board with the report, its findings are basically locked in as fact. But if even one person says, nope, I don't agree, the report's entire status changes. It's no longer the final word. Instead, it becomes just information furnished to the tribunal. That phrase, information furnished to the tribunal, sounds a little vague and legalese, doesn't it? So what does it actually mean for you and your case? Well, it turns out it means everything. Think about it like this. Your disagreement literally downgrades the report. It goes from being the potential final verdict to just one more piece of evidence on the table. It's an important piece for sure, but now it's sitting right alongside your evidence, your photos, and your arguments. It becomes a piece of the puzzle, not the whole picture. And this quote from the regulation itself, this is the heart of the matter. The law says the tribunal will give that disputed report such weight as the tribunal thinks fit. That phrase hands all the power back to the tribunal. They have the final say. They might find the report incredibly convincing, or they might think your evidence is stronger. Your disagreement is what opens the door for that to even be a possibility. So let's just pull all of this together. Why does taking a deep dive into this one specific rule matter so much to you as a homeowner? Honestly, it's all about knowing your rights and understanding the process. Okay, let's just recap the big 5 takeaways. 1, you have a legal right to see that report. 2, your single voice of disagreement has real power. It changes the report's legal status. 3, a disputed report is just evidence. It's not the final decision. 4, the tribunal has to weigh all the information, including everything you bring to the table. And 5, the most important one, the expert gives their opinion, but it's the tribunal, and only the tribunal, that decides. So we'll end on this thought. If you know that the expert's report isn't the automatic be-all end-all answer, that puts the focus right back where it belongs, on you. It makes you ask yourself, what's the most powerful piece of evidence I have? What's the clearest argument I can make? Because at the end of the day, that could be what tips the scales.